In this JPGivin'er analysis, I'll be breaking down Cone's perspective from a lounge event. A big theme in this analysis is bagging, specifically where you should and shouldn't bag given the situation. You'll soon find out what I'm talking about. Anyway, I have exactly 1 slot left for my fan analysis series, so if you want to submit yours, I suggest you act fast as it's first come, first serve. The submission process is in the description, but without further ado, let's start giving her, bud. Just before getting started, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I can guarantee you won't regret it. Also, make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed the video and leave a comment because I'll probably respond to it. Yeehaw, bud. Starting things off, we got Bowser's Castle. Out of the 3 races I'm analyzing today, this is the most general one as I'm going over 3 different components. I think Cole could have played this race better, but he didn't do too bad in the end. And as always, when I say you, I'm most likely referring to Cone. I don't think your lack of coins was the primary factor in why you got horned here, but for the future, if you can easily collect a coin or 2, you should go for it at all costs. And when I say easily, I mean that it won't negatively impact you going for it. You had 3 coins going into lap 2, and you could have had up to 5 or even 6 coins had you gone for the easy ones on the left path. But the main reason why you got horned was because your driving was pretty unpolished. Let me show you what I mean. Going into the first turn on lap 2, you did not delay drift, so you were already losing time. That, combined with going for the coin and going wide on the anti-gravity section, increased the likelihood of you getting horned tremendously. When you're in a situation where if you take bad lines, you will get screwed over, you cannot focus on anything else. Otherwise, you should just back out. Also, just drive straight as you enter the anti-gravity section. It's faster and obviously easier. But yeah, the combination of you missing some easy coins and taking optimal lines made you getting horned as inevitable as can be. I'm sure you thought this was a stupid mistake after it happened, so I'm not going to tell you to just not fall off. However, I have a pretty good idea as to what led to you falling off. Keep in mind, you can't get hurt by anything when you're in a star. I know you nearly got planted before starring, but after you activated your star, you had no reason to pay attention to the plant. Hell, even if the plant was close to you after your star, you had shrooms after your star, so you could easily shroom away from the guy. You can see here that you're paying way too much attention to the plant rather than where you are on the track. And especially in Mogi, you really don't have to check your rear view in situations like these unless your star is just about to run out. So for next time, don't even worry about looking at what's behind you when executing a shortcut, specifically if you're in a star, as it probably has very minimal relevance to you. Now, was this a really good pull? Yes. Did you play your cards right after you got the pull? Absolutely. But this was a really lucky scenario, and you very easily could have pulled 2 items that wouldn't help you nearly as much as this combo. This is why it wasn't a good idea to bag at this set. You were already quite a bit behind the pack, so opening up that gap even more would do you no favors unless you pulled shock, which you did here. This was one of the best situational combos you could have possibly gotten, and you ran with it, which was great. All I'm saying is that this exact same scenario won't play out next time, so you can't bag on a track like Bowser's Castle on lap 3 when you're already a bit behind the pack, especially because you only started passing people when you used your bill before the glider. But yeah, you got a great pull and you took advantage of it. Just don't expect this scenario to play out every time you're in last going into lap 3. Next up is Donut Plains 3. Bagging is the main component I'll be discussing this race, as it's really important to know how to play this track when bagging so you're not all over the place. Cone didn't do much wrong, but he did put himself in some unfortunate situations. I have mixed feelings about what went down here. I don't think your driving before the shortcut was bad, but maybe had it been a bit more polished, you could have limited the chances of you getting bumped hard. While the situation is a rare one, I think you could have prevented this by taking a slightly wider approach. You were going to run into the wall whether you got bumped or not, and while that sometimes can be a good thing, if you get bumped, you're probably screwed. I think taking a wider approach to the shortcut and aiming a bit outside the wall is a very safe option, since you'll still be saving time, and it usually doesn't matter if you get bumped or not. Either way, this whole bump fest led to you bagging this race, which is what we're going to focus on. Simply put, you should have bagged more in a lesser spot here. I feel like it's pretty difficult to profit from playing in the middle on this track, especially because the baggers tend to start really catching up before the second half of the race. And yeah, pulling triple greens just sucked here. You should have stayed back and tried to get 2 items in a spot between 9th and 12th, or even just bag for 1 or 2 more items after your greens. Getting middle spot items in the first half of Donut Plains 3 is just not a good sign at all, especially if you're in a bagging situation. Now, you got a really solid pull for 2 6th place boxes, but again, you should be bagging harder at this set. A good goal to aim for when bagging on this track is to be in a position to get 2 dodges at the first set on lap 2. You can cycle through them, maybe even getting another dodge at the second set. But yeah, I could tell that you kind of committed to running after this pull, and that's what put you in a tough spot going into lap 3. Shocks are pretty common on this track, but even if a shock doesn't come through, you should have already cycled through power items going into lap 3, and that's enough to really help you catch up. To be honest, if you stayed further in the back, even if you didn't get 2 dodges at the first set, you very likely could have cycled through dodges with the second set as well. At that point, dodging this shock is a guarantee. So yeah, moving forward, you should either run or bag on this track. I would not suggest playing in the middle. But even so, you still managed to get a solid spot, so good job on that. I'm a bit surprised you were able to manage 5th since you kind of screwed yourself, but sometimes that's just how it is on this track. Lastly, we have Bone Dry Dunes. Alongside bagging, I want to go over Cone's shroom usage here. It's pretty easy to take shrooms for granted, so let's see how we can work on not doing so. So going into the ending shortcut, you probably had the best items in the room, given your situation. Having 4 shrooms going into the ending cut in 7th is pretty amazing, but you kind of wasted 3 of them. You should try getting consistent at the ending shortcut with 1 mushroom. Maybe this was a one-time thing for you, I don't know, but try not to put yourself in a situation where you have to use 2 shrooms. After that though, the blue was thrown, and you used your 3rd shroom through the off-road cut while hitting the wall. Yeah, you had a shroom to dodge the blue, but you put yourself in a very awkward spot, even if we take the bomb before the blue out of the equation. Let's say everything after you get into first happens in your favor. You can easily dodge the blue, and you have a bit of a bigger lead over second. There's still half of the race to go, and it would not be a shocker if you got blue later on in the race. If I were you, I'd take the 1 shroom cut for sure. From here, take the beginning cut, and as long as you know how to dodge the blue, you're good to go since you have a shroom in both slots. You could also hold your last shroom for a potential blue, or chain into the next set to gain more distance and get protection. But yeah, next time, try not to waste your shrooms like you did here. Taking the wide path wouldn't have been a bad option had you secured the double box. Not only did you get a single box, but you got it in 8th, so it wasn't a shocker that you got a bad item for your spot. I feel like taking the anti-gravity path is just a better option in most cases, as even if you get hit, you can get up to 3 items because of the top path. You can't always take the top path when going around, but on the wide path, you could have paid more attention to what was behind you, and maybe then you could back out and try to guarantee a double box, maybe in a spot below 8th as well. But yeah, if you're taking the wide path, make sure you can nail a double box, otherwise just take the anti-gravity path. This didn't really negatively impact your race, but it's still worth bringing up. You already had 2 shrooms right behind the pack. In all honesty, you were in an amazing spot here, but you already know what I'm about to say. It was not worth wasting your shrooms to nail a double box. Besides, even if you got 2 items, the best combo you could have got was 4 shrooms, or maybe a boo. Now, let's say you got the single box, and you end up pulling a shroom. You took the safe route, and you only have 1 less shroom than you would have if you got the double box, and that's assuming you'd pull 4 shrooms. You know what I'm saying. Do not take shrooms for granted. You could have been in an amazing spot going into the last set in any situation had you gone for a single box. I know you still got triple shrooms at the end, and you did finish in a good spot, but you are going to have unlucky moments when you rely on pulling shrooms there. That's what this talking point is really about though, minimizing how much you have to rely on luck by taking advantage of what you already have. I hope you got something out of this video. If you did, I'd really appreciate it if you'd like the video and subscribe if you haven't already. As for Cone, I gave you a ton of information to work with here, but I think the main points for sure are begging a bit more when the race is young and appreciating the items you get, specifically mushrooms. I'm sure you can patch up what I brought up today, and I wish you the best of luck moving forward. But until next time, thank you so much for watching, have yourselves a fantastic day, and keep on giving her, bud.